Hello, I'm Tony, and I'm 42 years old. This story began over a decade ago, but it has resurfaced with such audacity from the main person involved that I feel compelled to share it. If you're listening, Sasha, I hope you're feeling as ashamed and embarrassed as you should. Let me take you back to the beginning. Sasha, my sister-in-law, and I were best friends long before I met her brother. Our friendship started in middle school, and we were inseparable from day one. I didn't meet my husband until college, as he was rarely around when I visited Sasha's house. When he went away for college, I still didn't get a chance to meet him. It was a chance encounter at a bar that introduced us. I recognized him from family photos at Sasha's house, and though he didn't know who I was, he approached me. By the end of the night, I revealed that I was his sister's best friend. He was surprised but intrigued, and despite the shock, he pursued me. With Sasha's blessing, we began dating, married 2 years later, and moved in next to Sasha and her husband, Brett. A year into our marriage, Sasha and Brett welcomed a baby girl, Via. I adored her. She was the sweetest child with a radiant smile and laugh. However, Via was born with birth defects that left her partially blind. For her first 5 years, adapting to her surroundings was a challenge. It wasn't due to any lack of intelligence or understanding, but rather because her parents refused to acknowledge her visual impairment. They placed her in potentially dangerous situations, insisting on a normal life for her rather than making accommodations. I wholeheartedly support making our society more accessible for people with disabilities, but Sasha's idea of a normal life didn't involve accessibility. One particular incident stands out. We were at a park, a place usually filled with picnics, playdates, and exercise. Via and I decided to spend some time together, and while Sasha was engrossed in conversation, I noticed Via was missing. Panic set in, and I asked Sasha if she'd seen her. Sasha, have you seen Via? I'm really worried. Don't worry about it. How can you be so calm? Via could be in serious danger. Calm down, Tony, calm down. How can I calm down? Your daughter is visually impaired. What if she fell and hurt herself badly? You have no right to tell me how to parent my child. Via is perfectly fine. I'm not saying you don't know how to parent. I'm saying I'm the only one who seems to care about her safety. You need to be more responsible. I know what's best for her, and I don't need you to interfere or tell me what I'm doing wrong. Why are you arguing with me right now? She could be hurt. You need to take this seriously. I am her mother. Back off and let me handle it my way. I was too panicked and angry to continue the argument. I started retracing our steps to find Via, while Sasha kept calling after me, demanding we finish our conversation. I ignored her, my heart racing too fast to care. Eventually, I found Via, crying and trying to find her way, calling out for her mom and me. Seeing her was a huge relief. I called out to her, and her face lit up with a smile. As she waddled toward me, she got dangerously close to the bicycle path. Suddenly, a group of cyclists zoomed by. My stomach dropped. I rushed to her, but before I could reach her, Via slipped and fell onto the bike path. Cyclists tried to brake or swerve around her. I reached her just in time to pull her away from the oncoming cyclists. I held her tightly as she sensed my panic and started crying. I did my best to calm her and myself. Sasha had witnessed the entire scene. She approached and took Via from my arms with a firm grip. You shouldn't have interfered, she said sharply. Via needs to learn to navigate her environment on her own. I was concerned for her safety. Did you even consider the potential dangers around here? I retorted. She's old enough to explore on her own. She doesn't need constant supervision. She's only 4 years old and visually impaired. She could have been seriously hurt. Oh, come on. It's not that bad. She might have just gotten a few scratches or bruises. That's beside the point. She needs proper care and guidance. You're being overly protective. Via can handle herself. Your disregard for her safety is dangerous. One day, it might cause her serious harm. You need to take her well-being more seriously. Just mind your own business, Tony. Via is my daughter, not yours. Fine, but remember, you're responsible for her well-being. She deserves better care. Sasha took Via and walked away, leaving me stunned and angry. How could anyone treat their own child like that? I wanted to protect Via and wished Sasha would step up as a parent. I knew Brett was not an option since he was so absent, spending all his time at work. But, somewhat ironically, the universe answered my plea in a way I hadn't expected. After that incident, Sasha cut off most communication. I rarely saw Via, and whenever I tried to visit, Sasha would make excuses and shut the door. Then, a year later, Sasha and Brett showed up at my house with Via in tow. I was taken aback by their appearance and the bags they carried. Hi, guys. Are you going on a trip? I asked, trying to make sense of the situation. Yes, it's a couple's trip. We were wondering if you and Noah could take care of Via while we're gone, Sasha replied. Of course, we can look after her, but how long will you be away? Forever. We've had enough of Via. What? She doesn't fit our idea of the perfect child. We can't handle it anymore. How can you be so cruel and heartless? You can't just abandon your own child. We've made up our minds. Here, we've signed away our parental rights, and these are her adoption papers. Take her. She's too much of a burden. I refuse to let you treat her this way. She's not a burden. Stop being so dramatic. Just take her if you care so much. I will take Via. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You're her parents. Act like it. Before I could say more, Sasha and Brett turned and left, driving off without a second glance. I stood there, shaking, until Via tugged on my arm, asking how long her parents would be gone. Tears streamed down my face as I told her it would be years before she saw them again. Via began to cry loudly, calling out for her parents. I held her close, letting her cry in my arms for as long as she needed. When I finally brought Via inside, she looked up at me with concern and asked if I would also send her away. My heart sank, and I struggled to hold back my tears, but I kept my composure. Via, you're going to stay with me and Uncle Noah from now on. Does that mean my mom will come back? I don't know, sweetheart, I can't promise that. Okay, but you and Uncle Noah are more fun than my parents anyway. Oh, thank you, sweetie, we'll take great care of you, and we'll always be here for you. Can we have more game nights and movie nights? Absolutely, we'll make sure to have lots of fun together. Yay, I love you, Aunt Tony. I love you too, Via, always remember that. That evening, I filled Noah in on everything that had happened. He was furious with his sister and brother-in-law. He tried calling them, but his calls always went to voicemail. As the days went by, we gradually adjusted to our new reality. We were thrilled to have Via with us. Despite the neglect she had endured, she was well-behaved and a joy to watch grow up. Days turned into months, and months into years. Via blossomed into a beautiful young woman. We grew so close that Sasha and Brett almost became a distant memory. Within 6 months of moving in with us, Via stopped calling us Aunt Tony and Uncle Noah. We became her parents in every meaningful way, and our love for her deepened. Though she remained mostly blind, she adapted remarkably well. When she was 12, her doctor informed us of a new medical advancement that could potentially restore Via's vision. We were astonished and asked if it could be fully restored. The doctor explained that while it might not be 100%, there was a possibility of achieving about 85% restoration. We were elated. That night, we sat down with Via to share the news. Via, sweetie, how do you feel about this news? I'm scared, Mom. I don't want to lose what little sight I have, Via said, her voice trembling. It's okay to be scared, I replied, but we'll find the best doctors to help you. Really, Dad? Do you promise it won't make me fully blind? We promise, Noah reassured her. We'll choose the best places with the highest success rates. You'll be safe. Okay, I want to do it, but I'm scared. It's natural to feel scared, I said, but we'll be with you every step of the way. I know, I want to see what my real parents look like. Hearing that Via's first desire after the surgery was to see Noah and me brought tears to our eyes. We felt incredibly blessed to have her in our lives. The surgery was scheduled for the following month, and we spent the time leading up to it enjoying game nights and movie nights to help distract ourselves from the anxiety. When the day of the surgery arrived, it was successful. It took Via 6 months to fully heal, but Noah and I stood by her throughout the recovery. During this period, we grew even closer as a family. The following years were filled with joy. Via regained a significant portion of her sight, and it was heartwarming to watch her marvel at the world around her. One of the most touching moments was when she finally saw Noah's and my faces clearly. She cried and told us how much she loved us. We hugged her tightly and reciprocated her feelings. From then on, Via would take a moment each day to look at us and compliment us, saying it was her way of making up for all those years when she could only receive compliments and never give them. Then, one day, our peaceful life was disrupted. Noah and I had taken the day off because Via was on summer vacation and spending time with her friends. While we were preparing lunch, we heard a loud banging on the door. My heart raced. Noah cautiously opened the door a crack and then quickly shut it, his face pale. What's wrong? I asked. Mom, he said, Sasha's outside. Before I could fully process what was happening, I found myself at the door. I threw it open and saw Sasha standing there, looking contrite. Tony, can I come in? You were never invited back into our lives. What do you want? Please, I'm sorry for abandoning my responsibilities and leaving my burdens at your feet. I was young and didn't know what to do, so I ran. You still haven't changed. I don't know if you have, considering you're here calling the child you abandoned a burden. I just wanted to see my daughter. No drama, I promise. Via is no longer your daughter. You signed over your parental rights to me and Noah. She's still my daughter, no matter what you say. No, she's not. You made that choice. Leave now. We don't need you here. Sasha's face went white, and she stammered, trying to justify her presence. I was about to close the door, but she stopped me and broke down, revealing her true reason for coming. I came to see Via because I need to talk to her about something serious. What could be so serious that you're showing up after 12 years? Brett is very sick and needs stem cells. We want to try every possible DNA match, including Via. I understand, but this is a lot for Via to handle. I'll talk to her and let you know her decision in 3 days. Thank you, and I'm sorry for everything I did in the past. Apologies won't undo the past, but I'll make sure Via hears about your request. I was furious and hurt that Sasha had reached out only because she needed something, not because she cared about Via. I wanted to refuse on Via's behalf, but I knew that wasn't right, so I decided to wait until Via came home to discuss it with her. When Via came home, Noah and I sat her down. What's wrong, guys? You look worried, she asked. Well, your biological mother, Sasha, visited us today, Noah began. Why would she come here? What does she want? Via's concern was evident. She came to talk to you about something serious. Your biological father, Brett, is very sick and needs a stem cell donor. Sasha came to see if you could be a match, I explained. Is Brett okay? Should I do it? Via asked, her voice trembling. We don't know the full extent of his condition, sweetie. It's entirely up to you, and we'll support whatever decision you make, Noah said gently. How long do I have to decide? Via asked. You have 3 days to think about it, I answered. Okay, I'll take some time to think it over, she said, then said good night and retreated to her room. Noah and I were deeply worried. We ate our dinner in silence, leaving some food outside Via's door in case she wanted to eat. That night, as we lay in bed, we talked about our fears. I'm really worried about Via, Noah said. She seemed so troubled after hearing about Brett's condition. I know, it's a lot for her to process. I hope she makes the decision that's right for her, I said. Me too. I can't bear to see her go through more pain. We have to be there for her, no matter what she decides. You're right, we'll stand by her, just like we always have. The next 3 days dragged by painfully. Via stayed in her room, the only indication she was still around being the food we left outside her door, which disappeared each day. It hurt to see her struggling, but we knew she needed time and space to think. On the night of the 3rd day, Via came down to join us for dinner. Dear, how are you feeling now? I asked. I'm okay, I just needed time to think. I'm sorry for worrying you, she said. You don't have to apologize. We understand this is a big decision for you, Noah reassured her. That's right, honey, we support whatever you choose, I added. I've made up my mind. I won't be donating anything to Brett, Via said firmly. Are you sure about this? Noah asked. Yes, Dad, I have my reasons, and I want to explain them with Sasha here, she replied. Okay, we'll be here with you when you talk to her. You don't have to do it alone, I said. Thanks, Via said. I must admit, I felt relieved with Via's decision. Her safety and well-being were my top priorities, and I didn't want Sasha or Brett to exploit her. I texted Sasha, asking her to meet us the next afternoon for lunch. The following afternoon, we gathered at the dining table. Sasha arrived looking anxious and avoided making eye contact with Via. Her demeanor annoyed us all. The atmosphere was tense and silent until Via decided to break the ice. Why won't you look at me, Sasha? Via asked, her voice steady. Oh, you know I'm not looking at you, Sasha replied evasively. Mom and Dad helped fix my vision. I can see you now, Via said, her gaze unwavering. They did? Why? Sasha asked, sounding genuinely confused. Because we love her and want her to have the best life possible, I answered. You didn't have to throw it in my face. Do you want to know my decision or not? Via's voice was firm. Yes, I do. What did you decide? Sasha pressed. I've decided not to donate anything to Brett. Why should I help you after you guys left me? Via said, her tone resolute. It's your duty as our daughter, Sasha insisted. No, I'm only mom and dad's daughter now. They actually care about me, unlike you, Via declared. I felt an overwhelming sense of pride. Watching Via stand up for herself and assert her worth made my heart swell with love. Instead of confronting Via, Sasha turned her frustration toward me. It's all your fault that Via is making this decision. You poisoned her mind against me. That's not true at all. We never spoke ill of you. We only supported Via and let her make her own choices. She's old enough to decide for herself, and we'll stand by her no matter what, I said firmly. You're spoiling her. I'll call CPS and get her taken away from you, Sasha threatened. You haven't cared about me for 12 years, and now you come back only when you need something. You didn't even ask how I was doing. I'm grateful that I got my sight back because I got to see my biological mother for the first and last time, I said, my voice steady. Via then got up from the table and walked into her room. Sasha stood there, stunned. Noah and I calmly asked her to leave. Sasha tried to argue, but Noah's stern presence was enough to convince her to go. After Sasha left, we gave Via some space to cool down. When we finally knocked on her door, she opened it with a bright smile. Don't worry about me, I'm okay, she said, reassuring us. We decided not to press further and suggested a movie night instead. Via eagerly agreed, and we spent the rest of the day together, enjoying fun movies in each other's company. It's been a year since everything happened. Via has healed and grown so much. We haven't brought up the incident, but we know she's okay, and that's what matters most to us. If there's one thing I've learned through this experience, it's that there's nothing more fulfilling than loving and raising your child the right way. No matter what happens, always stand up for yourself and your family.